is there a guy number two for you? Like, is there a second guy when you watch the tape that really jumped out?
I would say that, um, you know, it's funny, Ross. We live in a world of social media. I would say that to me the next best okay, of a college quarterback that I saw was Tyler Shough from Louisville, and I was fascinated by this kid. And I don't know where he's going to get drafted. It would not surprise me at all, Ross, if you start hearing his name. Hear people start saying, "Well, he's going to start moving up." He's 24 years old. I've spoken to former GMs who say that's not an issue at all. If the guy plays 10 years, 12 years, so what? He'll be 36. Quarterbacks play at that age. There's an injury history that's probably a little more concerning. He's 6'5". He's 224. This kid, I loved his tape. He looks the part of an NFL quarterback. He's got clean mechanics. He stayed on the midline. These are the little details that I look for. So many college quarterbacks, they drift. They create their own pressure. They don't do the little details of the position. I mean, this kid played 7 years of college football. I think he's a higher level prospect. I really do. I mean, and while he's probably a true pocket quarterback, he has enough movement that he can run for a first down and he can get out of the pocket and make throws. He made a lot of off-platform throws. I really like Tyler Shough a lot. Again, I don't know where he's going to get drafted, but I thought his tape was really good.
So interesting because I've only started to really hear his name a lot, Greg, over the last week or so. Like you hear so much about Shedeur Sanders, Cam Ward, to a lesser extent, Jalen Milroe, Jackson Dart. Tyler Shough's name is just starting to really, really get some attention, which I think is interesting. As you talked about him, it sounds like there's a lot of similarities to what you said about Drake May last year, although Drake May is obviously a lot younger.
Right.
But in terms of the physical traits and tools and how
Ross,
they look in the pocket.
You played. When a quarterback is 6'5", that's a big man. And there's a big difference between 6'5" and 6'1". You know that. There's a big difference. And, years and years ago, we used to never think about quarterbacks unless they were 6'3". The game has clearly changed, and you have to grow with the game. I mean, obviously, quarterbacks who are 6 feet, 6'1", can come in this league and be really good quarterbacks. Look at the development of someone like Baker Mayfield. He's not a big guy, and he's really developed into a higher level quality NFL quarterback. But, you see these guys. I mean, I remember being on the field last year at the Combine and introducing myself to Drake May. He's a big dude now.
Yeah.
I mean, you've probably seen him in person. Did you do Patriots games?
I did 2 Patriots games. Yeah, Cardinals and Chargers.
I mean, that guy's a big dude.
Yeah. And with a baby face. Looks like he could be in high school.
I know, but I mean, that means something. When the guys are that big, to me, that's a trait. And,
well, especially, trying to get him down on the ground, trying to all those things. I mean, anytime you saw Cam Newton or Ben Roethlisberger in person, it was like, holy crap. And then you could see it was holy crap when defensive linemen couldn't get him down.
I mean, I've had the opportunity to stand next to Josh Allen, and, you have too. I know you've done Buffalo games. I mean, that's a big man. That is just a big man.
I'm sorry, Greg, real quick.
Go ahead.
I got to ask you this. Your comments on Tyler Shough and having him as your QB2 last week got a lot of attention. And you're just going on tape study. Did you
Correct.
get any feedback from anybody?
I did.
That?
I heard from people in the league who have seen him in person, and have stood next to him and watched him throw. And all those comments I got from people in the league were that, hey, you're 100% right. You just have to be around this kid and see him in person, which I obviously will at the Combine, but I haven't done that. I've been just watching tape. But normally the tape tells you so much. I've also spoken to guys who have been GMs in the league who are not the least bit worried about his age. The injury history is a little more concerning. The age is not, just so people understand that. Anyway, if we want to get back to someone like
go for it. Dylan Gabriel.
Yeah, Dylan Gabriel was a fascinating watch for me. He's obviously very small, and he looks small on tape, and I think he came in just over 5'10", in that range, and that's obviously a little bit of an issue. he certainly has below average physical measurables. His arm talent is okay. I mean, the ball does come out pretty well in the short intermediate areas, but he's got really good timing. He plays with a sense of rhythm. He's decisive. So now you think, can this guy be a starting quarterback? What kind of offense would he have to be in? See, that's what you have to think about. Everybody's going to say the obvious, which is what I just said. But then you think, can this guy be a starter? And that's a very open question because he would need a really good run game. He'd need a really good O-line. He'd need receivers that can win. He'd need a play-action pass game that was really effective, that really impacted the defense. He would need to be allowed to play within rhythm. Now, he's also a mobile quarterback and a plus athlete. But if you're going to put him out there, he would need all those things. My sense is he'll be seen much more like a Taylor Heineke type player who's a backup and probably would be a good one. But he's a fun watch.
Question about him. When I watched him, and maybe it's because they're both from Hawaii, and maybe it's because they're both left-handed, and I get all that. But man, he reminded me, Greg, of Tua with just how quickly he gets the ball out.
Yep.
His anticipation, ball out quick, accurate. Can you compare him to Tua for me? Because
it's interesting that you make that comparison because Tua is only 6 feet as well. I think Tua. You could argue they're somewhat similar in that regard, and Tua is in a very specific kind of offense. And don't forget, look at what Tua had in Miami with those receivers. I remember when they signed Tyreek Hill, and the first thought of mine was not Tyreek Hill vertically, but the first thought of mine was Tyreek Hill in the Mike McDaniel offense, catching short passes where he's open and run after catch, playing within rhythm. Because that's what Tua is, and that's what Dylan Gabriel is. So, again, some coaches could look at Dylan Gabriel and think, man, that guy fits how I want to play, and I could line him up and play. And other coaches will say that, hey, this guy's small, good arm, but nothing special, no special traits. It's going to be hard for this guy to make it. He's going to be one of those guys. And it's those guys are hard. My guess is most people will see him as a backup type player. That would be my guess.
All right, Greg, got to get to one more guy, Quinn Ewers from Texas.
This guy I've watched. I've overdone Quinn Ewers. My head's exploding. I've watched this guy probably 25 games, and being honest, I struggle with him. I just don't see him as a true starting NFL quarterback. So I think that he's always had really bad lower body mechanics, throws way too many balls off balance, impacts his ball placement, his to me, his arm strength. People say, boy, this guy's got a gun. He doesn't have a gun on tape. Maybe he's got a gun in the backyard in shorts, but because his mechanics are so poor, he doesn't play like that. But he's played a lot of football. He sees it pretty well, but I don't see it with him. I just don't, and maybe I'll be wrong. It wouldn't be the first time. I just don't see it.
All right, curious. Who would be, that's interesting about Shough being the second name you bring up. Who would be the third name that you bring up?
You got to talk about Shedeur Sanders, and I like him. I mean, but I think he's a perfect example to me. Like, I think he throws a beautiful ball. I think his ball placement is good. I think he throws it well on the move. He's got to clean up some stuff in the pocket. He doesn't have very good pocket awareness. He has a tendency to hold the ball with one hand. Now, these are coachable things, but that needs to be cleaned up. He tends, and he was under a lot of pressure. There were a lot of plays where he had no chance, zero chance. But what he does have a tendency to do, and this also has to be cleaned up, is retreat backwards. And this is an offensive lineman. You can't retreat backwards in the NFL. So, but I think overall, you're talking about a shorter quarterback who's a pocket player. So to me, he's a ball distributor and an executor of an offense. He needs the system to work for him. He needs a run game. He needs a good O-line. He's a piece. He's a piece of an offense. Again, I never know where guys are going to get drafted. The player, I've talked to some scouts. the name that often comes up as a comparison for him is Geno Smith. And Geno Smith is a little bit bigger with a better overall arm, but he's probably that kind of quarterback.
Um, so that's interesting because I definitely think that Geno has a stronger arm.
He
No
does.
question.
He does.
And my thing for Shador, is there any similarities to Bo Nix there at
I
all,
don't.
Greg?
I think Nix is a much better athlete.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. I
All
think
right.
to me, Shador is similar, but not as gifted as C.J. Stroud. Like he's a pocket quarterback who needs, good O line, good system. He needs things in place. But Stroud to me is a better thrower.
Yeah, I'll say this. He's tough as nails because he took some incredible
No
shots.
question. I
But
like.
I do get frustrated. Their O line, his first year especially, was so bad that I think maybe he got some bad traits. But usually, Greg, the security of the pocket is stepping up, not
Right.
retreating.
I mean, I think he can be a quality starter in the NFL, no question. But I think it goes back to how we started this conversation, Ross. I think he needs, to be in a certain kind of situation, which most quarterbacks do. This is not a knock on Shadir Sanders. But my guess is, and again, no one knows about the draft. Quarterbacks often get drafted higher. But I've spoken to a lot of people, and this is my evaluation too. I just gave you my evaluation, but I've also spoken to people who think in an ideal world, he's a late first, early second round type player.
Right. Well, he doesn't really have, you know, top five, top 10 pick physical traits.
No. And that's okay. That doesn't mean he can't play in the league.